Mr. Hitchens, if you could in some way illuminate inside the mind of a neoconservative, because I don't know if you align yourself with them directly, but the idea of, you said that we have, through our sanctions, perhaps created this Rwandification, and now we're going in to fix that, this thing that we created. Okay, so we've created the scenario that we're going to now go in and fix. I mean, you kind of made that loop. You also said that unilateralism is something that if we could see that the French, if a veto is unilateral behavior, then you would say, okay, finally someone said that's unilateral, whereas we're only unilateral because we have the capability, which is, I think, in a way disingenuous, because unilateral is not only the capability, but choosing on your own terms to do something. So these are two arguments that I find that you have made that seem circular to me. So I'm wondering if you could illuminate in some way the logic that the neoconservatives have used, or the war planners have used, that is not circular and that is founded in something that is moral or real beyond this country's going down the toilet, although we made it go there. And so we're going to fix the thing that we created.
Gentlemen, I'm going to ask, we are over our time, so I'm going to ask you answer these questions and any concluding statements you want to say at the same time.
Goodness.
Sorry.
Well, I think it was Alfred Kazin reviewing someone or other, Lionel Trilling. No, Lionel Trilling reviewing Alfred Kazin says, who's this we you keep mentioning? It's an important point to bear in mind. Sometimes one has to say as a critic or a reviewer, we find ourselves, etc. So, well, be careful in this case. The record of past administrations, not including, as it happens, the Bush-Cheney one in Iraq, is something that is a responsibility, it seems to be, devolves upon the United States. Its citizens, its taxpayers, its Congress, its State Department, and so forth. And has to be discharged through whatever administration that might happen to be. I'll remind you that in 1998, on the initiative of the Clinton administration, the Senate and House passed the Iraq Liberation Act, in the case of the Senate without a single dissenting vote, saying it shall be the policy of the United States to change the government of Iraq and remove the government of Saddam Hussein. That was after quite a long debate on the merits of the case. It's a pity that the administration that proposed the act didn't enact it, but I can't help that, because I'm not part of that we. All I am is a voice in this debate, and you can hear what I say and challenge me on it. So I think I evade nothing by saying that. As to the question of which two of you asked, was about, well, can one take them seriously? Look, the best thing the Bolshevik Party ever did, in my opinion, was to publish the secret treaties that the Tsarist government had signed. When it broke open the Tsarist foreign ministry, they published the treaties that all the Allies had secretly agreed to during the First World War, including, most importantly, the Sykes-Picot Agreement between Britain and France to carve up Syria, Iraq, and Palestine after the war. This made it quite impossible for Woodrow Wilson to say that American help for Britain and France was not a participation in an imperialist war. It made him look stupid. It clearly was an imperialist war and had been from the beginning, as anyone could have seen. Well, but Mr. Wilson, pious hypocrite though he was, had to come up with something. Came up with the 14 points instead as a justification for later establishing the League of Nations and establishing the principle of self-determination. Did he really believe it? I'd have to be him to know. But if the Bush administration says, or the Clinton administration says, our foreign policy is incompatible with the existence of Saddam Hussein or any other totalitarian regime, whether they believe it or not, it's a standard to which I think one should try and hold them. They've made a statement that's become the property of the meeting. Don't let them take it back. If they're not going to be consistent about it, let's point it out to them. If they're going to be incompetent or hesitant, we are not spectators or consumers only. We are citizens, voters, and taxpayers. Remember, as I keep saying to you, the responsibility for all this is yours too. Don't keep asking me, what are you doing about this? What have you done lately to help a single person in Iraq? Any of you? Think about that. You should have been thinking about it before. Don't keep whining on about incompetence. There are things you can be doing and encouraging others to do. You're not a consumer, you're not a spectator, and some of you are not that good as critics, if you honestly want my opinion. though I'm sure you could improve with practice.
Well, you know, I think that among the various motives that go into the construction of this war, that what you point to, the gentleman over here, is one. Now, I cannot say that it is the president who himself is actually understands this Wilsonian idea that a preemptive presidency, in the words of Stephen Skowronek, is a weak presidency, exhausted already ideologically, because the Reagan Revolution is already pretty far back, and besides, at that time, he not only doesn't have a mandate, but he didn't even win the popular vote. He's not doing very well. Bin Laden rescues him. He is very high in the polls. Crisis clearly increases the power of the president. And I think if I just want to put a symbolic name on this, but I cannot put an actual person because I don't know, I'm not privy to the decision-making processes, I would put the name Karl Rove behind this idea. I don't think Karl Rove missed the fact that a war in Iraq timed in the right way, and he talked about marketing, when you market it, when you throw the new idea in, would be very helpful, at least for the congressional elections which would come up in the following fall. So I think it is part of it. But I cannot say myself in good conscience that it is the only part. Other things are going on. Christopher here strongly believes in the rightness of it. I think from everything I heard, Tony Blair believed in it as well, because otherwise it is inexplicable that he threw away such a powerful position in English politics for the sake of a loser, because in English politics he gained really nothing thereby. So people can actually believe in this thing, and the neoconservatives to some extent did believe in it. So that's the only way one can handle it. But I have no doubt. Or perhaps, let's put it this way, I would like to pose a strong hypothesis that the element that you're talking about played a role, and it is significant. The other gentleman's point, I think, is quite right. I mean, you know, America's role in the world is significant, and it's part of what we're talking about. I hope that this issue would come up earlier, and I wouldn't mind if you know, because if I challenge you, you know, you should be able to respond. One of the things that your side in this debate always says, when my side points out that America's role in the world has something to do with 9/11, and something to do with terrorism and all the rest, is that we're blaming the victim. That the act of terror is the responsibility of terrorists themselves. The terrorists are the cause of terrorism. And I think, theoretically speaking, one has to be able to distinguish between cause and justification. Just because the only people who have responsibility in relationship with the attack on the World Trade Center or any other terrorist act, the terrorists themselves, does not mean that in the order of empirical facts, they're the only cause of it. And in this sense, someone like Chalmers Johnson, who describes the blowback phenomenon before it actually happens, and I think many of you have read his work, empirically predicts it and is right. America's actions in the world are producing blowback phenomena, and in this case, Bin Laden has explained clearly enough. Now they say, well, he hates our way of life.